Hi everybody, it's Maureen Wong for Your Next Stamp. Today I have a very special little project to show you. It's something that I actually designed. I did not design the key, but I designed this box. I'm calling it the Key to My Heart Matchbox. And these great products, the key as well as the keyhole die, and you can see them here, just came out from Your Next Stamp, and they're called the Key to My Heart dies. And so I designed this little box to go with them. And what it is, it's a matchbox. It's closed on the end, one end, and then it's open on the other end and has the keyhole here. And you can't really do anything with it. So what you do is you have this key, and when you give it to your recipient, it'll look like this. So I just pull out the key. I insert it into the keyhole like so and turn it, and then those little prong things on the end of the key are gonna grab your drawer, and then you pull it out. And you can decorate this any way you want, but I've put a little bear from the Sweet and Cool set. I'm sorry, not Sweet and Cool, Love and Smile set. And then when you open up, your gift is inside, and there's also some little conversation heart confetti. So I hope you like this project, and let's get started. Okay, so to start with, this is called the Key to My Heart die set from Your Next Stamp, and it is because of this die set that I designed the Key to My Heart Matchbox SVGs, and it's really meant to work together. So if you download the SVG file and make the box, I'm hoping that you will go to yournextstamp.com and get the Key to My Heart die set to go with it, because it is really meant to go together. And how you decorate your box is up to you, but today I'm using the Love and Smile set, specifically this little bear. The bunny and the dog don't actually fit on my matchbox, so that's why I'm using the little bear. And then I'm also using the Your Next Stamp heart splatter. You can see it's been lovingly used already, but remember that staining of your stamps does not affect how it's stamped, so don't worry about that. So let me go through quickly the two pieces that you're going to cut out. And this one with the long straight side is actually the sleeve of the box, and then this other one is the drawer of the box. And it's not a traditional matchbox like you saw in the preview. It has that fold over flaps to hide what's inside. So please watch carefully so you know how to assemble the box. First of all, what I'm going to do is go ahead and stamp the sleeve of the box, because the ink is going to take a little while to dry. So I'm going to take my heart splatter, and I'm using some Stampin' Up! Ink. When you first get the file, there's one side that was up that cuts a little bit better, or deeper I guess you can say, than the other side where you can barely see the lines. So I'm going to call this the outside of the sleeve, the side that was face up in the machine that was cut. And it's totally up to you, because the score lines are there, they will fold either way, but I'm just going to call this the outside of the box. And this panel specifically next to the long side in the middle is going to be the top panel of your box, so you are the sleeve. So you want to make sure that you have that oriented how you want it, which is actually pointing towards the flat side, pointing towards yourself. And then, not that it really matters, because the splatter is a little, you know, it's just a splatter, but a lot of the hearts are oriented a certain way. So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Now this is enough to just get the top panel, it's gotten a little bit of the side panels. This is actually the bottom and this is the back. So if you want to stop there, that's fine, but what I'm going to do is just ink up my stamp a little bit more and add a little bit more stamping to kind of cover those side panels. And then what I'm going to do is flip this around, and then I'm going to stamp it on the back. So there you go, and you might be able to see that the ink is very wet. So that's why I'm going to set it aside to dry. And you can actually hit this with your heat gun, but you want to make sure it's really dry. I actually filmed another version of this box before this one, and I smeared the ink all over the place. So you want to make sure that's really, really nice and dry. So what I'm going to do is just set that aside to dry, and if it's not dry by the time that I'm ready for it, I will hit it with my heat gun. Now coming in with this piece, this long flap is going to be the top that folds over. So I'm going to stamp my little bear there. And I am going to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a colored cardstock that I cut the bottom out of, and so I'm just going to stamp it and leave it uncolored. But if you want, of course, you can cut this out of white, color it with your Copic markers or whatever other coloring medium you want to use. In that case, you want to use the appropriate ink, for example, the Memento, if you're using Copic markers. Since I'm just going to leave this uncolored, I'm just using my VersaFine Onyx Black because that is my favorite black ink. I think it gives a really nice, clean impression, and it's super black, not kind of a light gray black or anything like that. So what we're going to do is I just have this up with this long flap pointing up, and I'm going to stamp my bear right there. And then this stamp set comes with all sorts of tiny, tiny little sentiments. Let's see if you can see that. Like hug me, love you, smile, cutie. And then it comes with these tiny, tiny little faces. So these little ones can be stamped alone as your sentiment, or you can actually fit them on the little balloons, and you can make either sentiments on your balloons or little faces on your balloons. So I am using the Hug Me sentiment, and I'm still using my VersaFine Onyx Black. Let me get this a little closer to myself so I can see where that's going. And there's Hug Me. Okay, and that's all the decorating I'm going to be doing. If you want, of course, you can do some pattern paper, you can do other kinds of stamping. If you want to use the heart splatter inside of the box, you can do that, of course. Just remember that this side is the outside of the box, the side that you're stamping on. So if you want to decorate the inside, it would be the back. Okay, next thing we're going to do is cut our keyhole using the keyhole die from the set. And I am just going to eyeball the center here and hope that it's straight and centered. It doesn't really matter too much, but if you are really concerned about that, you can go ahead and measure. This is 2 inches wide, this section, so you would just mark at 1 inch and draw your line and try and line up your die straight. I'm just eyeballing it here. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick that down with a piece of tape and run it through my die cut machine. Okay, now that's cut, and I forgot to mention before I went over to cut it that this whole die cut, if you cut it at the 100%, that is the file size, and sorry about my dogs howling in the background, I'm not sure what's going on. But if you cut it at the size that it's meant to be cut, this will be 6 inches wide, and as far as I know, Pretty much all of the die cutting machines out there can handle 6 inches wide, so you don't have to worry about having to fold this up and make it skinnier to run it through your die cutting machine, because this full width will actually go through your machine flat. And I think that holds true for the Cuttlebug, the Big Shot. I have the We Are Memory Keepers Evolution, and it fits through there just fine as well. So anyway, here we go. And there you can see our nice little keyhole has cut. And now we can sorry about that, everybody. My camera battery just died on me. What I was saying is now it's time for us to assemble the box. So the first thing we're going to do is fold on all the score lines. And of course the score lines were cut with the file, the rest of the file, when the cut lines for the box pieces was done. So we just fold on all those score lines, and they're really easy to fold. And the first thing we're going to do is, I'm using tacky glue. I like a liquid glue for this because it has a little bit of give and play time, so that if you don't put it together exactly straight, you can move it. You can actually pull apart things that you've glued together if it's not done correctly. So that's why I'm using a liquid glue. But if you want to use a dry tape runner or like an ATG, that's fine. You can use whatever you feel comfortable with. So anyway, I'm going to take to the outside of the box where you can see the bear, and these 2 little flaps next to the keyhole, I'm going to put glue on those 2 little flaps. And then I'm going to fold them in one at a time to go behind the keyhole flap. And I just need to hold this for a little while to let the glue set up and take hold. And then I'm going to do the same with the other side and line that up straight with the edge, and hold it for a second to make sure that it takes hold. And that is pretty much it for the front of the box. Now for the back of the box, let me fold this down so you can see. There are these 2 long flaps, so I'm just going to put glue on one of the long flaps first. It kind of blobbed out on me. And then I'm going to fold this one over top of it. And when you are lining up the 2 flaps, you want to line up this edge, which is next to the bottom flap. I designed these 2 flaps with sort of a little bit of a curve, not a curve, but an angle top, so that there's a little bit of room to fold that piece over. So the straight right angle edges are going to be on the bottom. So those are the 2 edges you want to line up together. And then we're going to go ahead and put glue on both flaps, and then also on this flap, because what we're going to be doing is folding this over and this down inside the box. Hopefully you saw that. My giant hands weren't in the way. And then you just press down, and that should be lined up straight. And that is your box bottom. And so what happens is you just fold these 2 side flaps in, and then you fold this front flap over, and this is how it gets inserted into the sleeve. Now for the sleeve, I think this is sufficiently dry. What I'm gonna do is the same thing. First step is to fold on all the score lines, and especially with this piece, you don't want to fold on your score lines before you do your stamping, because that can cause ridges and it might not stamp really nicely if it's not perfectly flat. So I would definitely recommend decorating your boxes first and then doing your folding and assembling. Okay, now for this one we have these two side flaps next to the long strip in the middle, and we're going to put glue on those. And the assembly is just like the box bottom, it's just got an open end instead of a closed end on one side. Okay, and now I fold in the other flap and hold it for a couple of seconds. And you want to make sure that's squared. Those flaps are down, touching the bottom. You can see that in here. These two flaps right here should be pushed all the way to the bottom so that our cover can fit over it. Well, it's actually the bottom of the box. Now at this point, what I want you to do is get your box drawer and insert it into the sleeve, because what you're going to do is form the box around the drawer. Fold the sleeve around the drawer just to make sure that it fits in there. It is designed to fit. I made the sleeve with enough room that the drawer should slide in and out easily. But if you happen to be putting it together without the drawer inside, you might accidentally glue your flaps too close together or overlap them by mistake and make the sleeve a little bit too small, and then the drawer can't fit in. So I recommend doing it with the box drawer inside so that you don't have that problem. And now, so I take the two side flaps, and they should butt right up against each other, and I'm going to apply glue to both of them. I want that glue all the way up to the edges so that my box will close nicely. And again, we're going to push those together, line them up, push them together, and then I'm going to fold this flap over top of that and push it down. And then, like before, you just wait a couple seconds for that glue to set up, and there is your box all done. And now we need to make our key so we can get it open. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead already and die cut the key 5 times, and I cut it once from white glitter cardstock, twice from the same pink, and I just used the leftover scraps from when I cut the box out. And then I got 2 scraps of red cardstock and I cut it out of that as well. And of course you can do anything you want, but the main point is you want at least several layers of your key glued together to make it strong enough to pull the drawer out of the box. So what we're going to do is glue these together. I have a little sticky cutting mat here that I used for gluing. Okay, and I'm going to do it with my white key, my white glitter key on the top, so I'm going to put that to the side. And then all of these other ones, I'm going to apply some Zig two-way glue. You've probably seen me using this on die cuts before. Oh wait, before I do that, make sure all these little tiny holes are popped out, because you don't want them to be showing in your finished product. So I'm actually gonna just put the Zig two-way glue on the top here, because there are all those holes. It's easier to use this kind of glue and just run it all the way over. If I use my tacky glue, I would have blobs all in those little holes. So I'm just going to use the tacky glue on the bottoms of the keys, and for the top parts of the hearts, I'm going to use the Zig two-way. So I'll just quickly run that over all the heart tops. And then I'm going to run a little bit of tacky glue down those keys, the bottoms, and on those sticking out parts that I don't know what they're called. And you don't want too much glue on there because it's going to squish out. So what I'm going to do is kind of take away some of the excess with my fingers and move it around so that the key is completely covered. And of course you can do this one at a time as you're gluing them. You don't need to put the glue on all of them and feel like you have to rush. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the red keys on the bottom, and you just line that up. And then I'm putting the pink keys next, and you'll see why I do this in a moment. Another pink key. And then finally my glitter key. And I'm going to press those all down really, really well. Make sure they're all lined up perfectly, one on top of the others. And then let that set up for a bit. And then what I'm going to do is just peel this whole thing off of my sticky sheet that was holding it in place. And I can put that to the side. And there you go, you have your key. And you can see when I show you the side, this is the reason why I actually used different colors of cardstock, because when you look at it from the side, you can see those different colors and it makes kind of a neat effect. It's just one more little detail that makes this an extra special gift. So once that is all dry, the glue hardens, and then what that does is not only do the 5 cardstock layers help to make the key really strong, but when the glue dries and hardens within the keys, it also gives it added strength. So once that is all set, you're going to have a really strong key. And let me just show you again how you do it. So in case your recipient doesn't know, you put the key in through the keyhole, turn it so that it can grab, and then you just pull your drawer out. And then when the drawer is coming out, they can see the little bear that says "Hug Me." And then there would be a little surprise inside for your recipient. Now you can go ahead and decorate this any way you want. So today I'm using this 5/8 inch twill tape, and this is soft, not the stiff kind of twill you get sometimes. And I'm just going to tie that around the box. Make a bow. And make sure that is tied tightly. Okay, and then I can cut off the excess. And let me just push that down a little bit so it's in the middle. And then what I do is just tuck the key right under the twill, and so your recipient will see it, and hopefully they'll figure out how to use it. One last detail I wanted to point out is when you cut the key die cut, you get these hearts from the middle of it, and I actually saved all of those from my 5 layers of the key. And what I'm going to do is take a little sentiment from the Love and Smile set again. Remember how I showed you all these tiny little sentiments that can fit in the balloons? Well, they can also fit really nicely on these little hearts. So what I'm going to do is just take the sentiment "Love You" and stamp it on my heart. And you can actually do that on both sides to make your own little like conversation hearts. And then what I would do with them is put them in my drawer, and then you have this nice little extra bit of interest in your gift. I'm sorry, there it is. And then you put your gift inside, close it up, and stick it back in the drawer. Okay, I hope you've liked this video and that we will see you over at yournextstamp.com for this and many other products, and thank you very much for watching.